Week 3 is basically here, and let's talk about what the Dirty Birds got to do to take on and beat their division rival, the Carolina Panthers, in Week 3 of NFL football in 2025. Welcome in, Falcons fans, to Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, so let's go stat for stat to determine the winner of this game. Now, I want to bring up what the Carolina Panthers do well, because they really don't do anything well, and I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. And then I'll talk about what the Falcons need to do on both offense and defense in order to secure the W to go 2-1. Now, before we do that, did I tell you the bosses started that Panthers channel? Swear to God. I didn't know they had 77 fans. But hey, apparently, you'll find out new information every single day. Here's what I need you to do, Dirty Birds fans. We can't stop the Panthers channel from gaining subs, but we can widen the lead. So if you hit that subscribe button, you absolutely keep that last place team down in the dust of the Panthers Now channel. So hit that subscribe button for free Dirty Birds content all year long. Let's talk about the Panthers, and we'll start with their offense, which, believe it or not, doesn't look the worst on paper. It doesn't look good, but total yards per game, they rank 22nd. Passing yards per game, you're probably thinking to yourself, 13th, that's amazing. Well, when you're down 30-0 every single game, you kind of have to throw the ball a lot. Rushing yards per game, obviously that'll be lower because they're throwing the ball so much. That's 27th. And points per game, this is probably the biggest, most telling stat. They don't score, like at all. 16 points a game, 29th in the NFL so far through 2 weeks. Defensively, they're not much better. Yards allowed per game, they're also 22nd. But passing yards allowed per game, they are actually 11th at 194. But on the flip side, when teams have such a great lead against you, all they're going to do is run the ball. Rushing yards allowed per game is where you really see how bad they are, 26th. And then points allowed per game, 26.5, which is 23rd, bottom half of the league. All that to say this, the Falcons are a far more talented team, and it's not close. You know it. I know it. The paper knows it. All the analysts know it. Panthers fans, all 77 of them, they know it. So I think there is a way that the Falcons obviously win this, and that's by playing their brand of football. And I do realize that on any given Sunday, anybody can actually beat you. You could be the worst team in the NFL going up against the best team in the NFL, and I promise you at some point throughout the NFL's tenured history, the worst team has beat the best team. So you can't take anybody for granted. And there's where their playmakers come in. They're 5 on offense. Bryce Young, if you want to call him a playmaker. Chuba Hubbard, who I actually have a lot of respect for. I do think he's a pretty good running back. Xavier Legette, Tet McMillan, they're 2 young wide receiver core duos. And then Hunter Renfrow, who they just brought in this year, who was formerly with the Las Vegas Raiders. And then with a street team of construction workers last year doing some jackhammering on side streets in Las Vegas. So he was an unemployed NFL player last year and then now is playing again for the Carolina Panthers. Here's the funny truth about everything. Let's talk about the quarterback for them. Bryce Young is like 5'3", maybe 5'4" on a good day. He can't really see over the line of scrimmage. So if you keep him inside the pocket rather than trying to flush other quarterbacks who are bigger, stronger, and faster outside of the pocket, this is actually the opposite. You want to keep him inside the pocket to go and try to throw over these guys that are 6'4", 6'5". Statistically speaking, he's been awful again. 59% completion percentage. That's terrible. 482 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a QB rating of 74.4. I don't know how long the leash is for Bryce Young in Carolina. I know Dave Canales is a pretty young and, offensive-minded, bright guy, but I think even he knows it's time to draft a quarterback. So maybe this is his last year as the Panthers starting quarterback, unless he somehow turns it around. Now, defensively, how do you stop Bryce Young and force him into the pocket, like I just said? Well, you adopt the cage concept. And this is a football technique that kind of dictates a quarterback to stick inside the pocket rather than having him flush outside and beat you if he's more mobile. Well, Bryce Young has to go outside of the pocket in order to see the field. So that's his first thing. Him and Kyler Murray will absolutely flush themselves outside in order to see the field more accurately. So what does the 4-man cage diagram actually do? Well, it takes a 5-man pass rush, but a 4-man cage is what it's called. So basically, that right end basically suffocates that shoulder of the quarterback, meaning that left-hand side, that blind side that Bryce Young has because he's a right-handed quarterback, that's going to be taken care of by your right end, followed by your defensive tackle, in this case, Brandon Dorless, to go in like bull rush his guard to try and force Bryce Young to back up inside of the pocket. Then, of course, you've got your nose tackle and your other edge rushers. These are a different combination of different players like Ruka Rororo or Arnold Ebiketie, James Pierce Jr., Jalen Walker, etc. What they're going to do is pinch that other side so that he can't get outside. Otherwise, he's going to run into a brick wall. So he has to stick in the pocket with only one player, Brandon Dorless or Rook, going after him. Does this make sense? Good. I'm glad. I'm going to ask you a question really quickly before I get on with the rest of my video. How many sacks will the Falcons defense have in week 3? If I had to ballpark it right now, I'd probably say somewhere in the vein of 3. You can't really get half a sack in a team stat. You can do it as a player. So I'm going to say 3. But optimistically, I'm going to say 4. Either way, let me know in the comment section or in the live chat during today's live episode down below. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the offensive game plan to beat the Carolina Panthers. Now, before I do that, I'm going to tell you about today's presenting sponsor, and that is our friends over at Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Very simple to play. Pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. Here's what my lineup looks like for this weekend. I comboed it with some pro baseball stuff. I have the James Cook on the more for rushing touchdowns. I've got Michael Penix Jr. up there on the more for passing yards, and I have got Patrick Mahomes as my max discount play. Yours can look like this. All you got to do is download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. Offensively speaking, how do the Falcons attack this weakened Carolina Panthers defense? Well, it starts by running the football. They are literally one of the worst teams in the NFL over the last 19 games at stopping the run. And Bijan Robinson, we just talked about, is a top 2 back in the league. I mean, I don't need to be a mathematician to know that 2 plus 2 equals 4. So Bijan plus bad run defense equals big legacy game for Bijan. So the Panthers are horrendous, like I said, at stopping the run. Bijan is going to cook. Let him eat. I expect a very run-heavy game plan from Zach Robinson, just like they did against the Minnesota Vikings, although for different reasons. The Vikings blitz a lot. The Carolina Panthers just suck. So outside of that, that's kind of my major plan A for the Dirty Birds. Now, I will say this. There have been a couple of areas where you can't take the Carolina Panthers completely for granted. They are 9th in NFL red zone defense. I mean, that's pretty interesting considering there's a lot of scoring that's done on this defense. But regardless, they have this bend but don't break mentality, meaning over the middle of the field, they are just absolutely awful. How do you combat this? More designed runs in the red zone and methodically moving the ball in a position to score. So when you're inside the 20-yard line, don't just try to air it out and make it look pretty. Stick to your game plan. Pound the rock. And when they move up to try to stop the run, because they eventually will, then Michael Penix drops back, throws a slant to Darnell Mooney, or a stick route to Kyle Pitts, or even a slant or a back shoulder fade to Drake London. Either way, you should have the upper hand on offense against the Carolina Panthers. Let's talk quarterback. Michael Penix Jr. Again, this feels like he could have a really big game, but I don't need him to, because you don't need to throw the ball that much, as I alluded to. The Falcons, that's supposed to say the Carolina Panthers, my bad. The Carolina Panthers have only generated 15 pressures on opposing quarterbacks. You don't have to go to that, Producer Alper. You can just bring me up full screen. The Panthers have only generated 15 pressures on opposing quarterbacks, meaning they don't get back there and make the quarterback's life a living hell. So Michael Penix should have plenty of opportunities to sit back, read the field, go through his progressions, and make an accurate and on-time throw. I'm expecting 235 yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns, no picks, get in and out, win that game, and save your best game for the Commanders or the Buffalo Bills. Let's go back to the pressure rate for a second, because I did just talk about how bad the Carolina Panthers are at defense. I showed you this chart yesterday, but I'm going to show it to you again. What you want is to be top left where the Seahawks are. The next best place to be is that top right quadrant. Then the third best place to be is probably that bottom right, and then the worst place to be is that bottom left, or vice versa, however you want to look at that. Maybe, actually, the more and more I think about it, the more and more that would look awful if you were bottom right, because that means you're blitzing and still getting no pressure. So you'll go top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Well, you can see the little Carolina Panthers head down there. They're close to the bottom left. So they definitely do not put pressure on quarterbacks. So do more of what the defense gives you. Take what you are given. If they're giving you time in the pocket, take time in the pocket. Make sure that you go through your progressions. Don't try to force balls. Don't be a hero. 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, right into week 4 at 2-1. If you do that, my friend, everybody, including myself, is going to be very, very happy. I'll end today's episode by saying this. There's a reason that FanDuel, who is one of the biggest names in sports gambling, basically listed the Carolina Panthers as the worst team in the NFL in their recent power rankings heading into week 3. The Dirty Birds, by the way, are at 15th according to FanDuel. So they've moved up quite significantly. And I think that's a really good spot to have them, at least right now. You have to have them in the top 15. I don't know yet that you could have them inside the top 10. A quick reminder that we are stomping on the necks, not only on the field, but on the YouTube channel of the Carolina Panthers. So make sure you hit that sub button and grow that lead even larger than the 39,000 it already is.